The wind howled across the barren landscape of Zaloris, carrying with it fine gray dust that stung every exposed inch of skin. Captain Leo Harris tightened the straps of his utility belt as he stepped out of his small shelter, scanning the horizon. The colony here was isolated, and life had never been easy. Humans had settled on this planet years ago, learning to survive among towering crystal spires, strange alien flora, and unpredictable weather that could shift from calm to violent in minutes. But Leo was used to it. He had faced storms, alien predators, and hostile scavengers before. Today, however, something felt different. Almost like the world itself was holding its breath. Inside the shelter, small fire crackled, providing warmth against the cold night. Leo had finished repairing a damaged communication terminal earlier, and now he was making a cup of synthesized tea when the faint sound of footsteps carried through the storm. He froze, listening. The sounds were deliberate, careful. Not the shuffle of the wind or the scuttling of native wildlife. Someone was coming. He stepped outside again, eyes narrowing against the dust and rain. At first, all he saw was a blurred shape moving against the gray horizon, barely visible through the storm. Then, as the figure drew closer, he realized it was a person. A woman. She was moving slowly, carefully, and Leo could see that her figure was shivering from cold and exhaustion. At first, he thought she might be injured, but as she came closer, he noticed something strange. She was wearing a single item of clothing, a jacket, and then he recognized it immediately. It was his jacket, the heavy insulated one he had lent to a colleague months ago. His brow furrowed as he stepped forward. The storm made it difficult to see much else, but it was clear that the jacket was wrapped tightly around her, protecting her from the wind, yet she had nothing else under it. Leo swallowed hard, pushing aside the immediate shock. He was a soldier and an engineer, not someone easily rattled, but this situation was unusual even for him. He waved her over. "Hey, are you all right? Can you make it to the shelter?" The woman nodded weakly, taking careful steps toward him. Her pace was slow, her body trembling, not just from cold, but from exhaustion. She finally reached the doorway, and Leo quickly ushered her inside. "Sit by the fire," he said, handing her a thermal blanket from his supplies. "You'll warm up faster this way." She took the blanket with a small, grateful nod, her eyes flicking nervously toward the storm outside. Leo noticed that she was alert, despite her obvious fatigue, and there was a kind of quiet confidence in her movements. She was not just a scared traveler. She had something else about her. Intelligence, experience, and a certain resilience that came from having survived more than most could imagine. "What happened?" Leo asked gently. "How did you end up out there like that?" The woman hesitated. Her eyes flicked toward the window, watching the storm. "I was being hunted," she said finally, "by a rogue faction. They want information, I found. Things that could change the balance on this planet and beyond." Leo's eyebrows rose. "Hunted by who?" She shook her head. "I can't say yet. Not until I know it's safe." Her voice was calm but firm, showing a maturity beyond her apparent age. Leo respected that. He had dealt with spies, thieves, and hostile alien groups before, and this woman was clearly capable of handling herself. Leo grabbed a spare set of warm clothes from his storage and handed them to her. "Change into these. It'll help you recover faster." She looked at him, a mixture of surprise and gratitude on her face. "Thank you," she said simply. While she changed, Leo returned to the communication terminal. He had been repairing it for weeks, and it was finally functioning. With a few taps and adjustments, he managed to establish a weak connection to the nearby settlement, hoping to request backup or at least alert someone that she was safe. He knew the rogue faction could still be nearby, watching, waiting for the right moment. As he worked, he observed her from the corner of his eye. She moved with precision, careful not to touch anything unnecessary, yet every movement was purposeful. He realized that this was someone trained to survive in hostile environments. Her alertness, even while shivering and exhausted, spoke volumes about her skills. After a few tense minutes, she finished changing into the clothes he had provided. Leo offered her a seat and poured a small cup of hot tea. She accepted it and took a slow sip. Her hands wrapped around the cup as if drawing strength from it. "You should drink slowly," Leo said. "You've lost a lot of heat, and your body needs to recover." She nodded again, and for a moment there was silence. Only the sound of the wind howling outside and the fire crackling in the small shelter. "I'm Leo," he said finally. "Captain Leo Harris." "And you are?" "Arya," she replied. "Arya Voss." Leo nodded. He had heard the name before, in reports about settlements under threat, about rogue factions causing problems for both humans and aliens. She was known, respected, and feared in some circles. And now here she was, standing in his shelter, relying on his help to survive the storm and evade her pursuers. "Arya, this storm is dangerous," Leo said. "You can't stay outside. The rogue faction could find you any moment. We need to plan our next move." Arya's eyes met his, calm and steady. "I know. I've evaded them this far, but I can't go any further alone. I need help." Leo felt a surge of determination. Humans were not the strongest species in the galaxy. Aliens with advanced technology could easily overpower them. Yet humans had one quality that no technology could replace: ingenuity, resourcefulness, the ability to think, adapt, and survive when every odd seemed against them. "All right," he said. "We'll get through this together. But first we need a plan. We can't just sit here and wait for them to find us." Arya nodded. "I have information that could help. About their movements, their technology, even weaknesses." Leo listened carefully as she explained what she knew. The rogue faction was small, but dangerous, armed with stealth drones and advanced tracking devices. They were after information she had uncovered, a secret about a rare mineral that could power weapons capable of destroying entire settlements. If it fell into the wrong hands, many lives could be lost. Leo felt the weight of the situation. Protecting her was not just a matter of personal responsibility. It was a mission that could determine the safety of the entire colony. He pulled out a map of the nearby terrain and began marking potential escape routes, places where they could hide, and areas where drones might be less effective. "We can use the terrain to our advantage," he said. "Zolaris has strange weather patterns, and those crystal spires can block most tracking sensors. If we time it right, we can get you to a safer location without being detected." Arya studied the map, nodding. "We'll need distractions, decoys, something to draw attention away from us." Leo smiled faintly. "Leave that to me. Humans have a way of improvising that even the most advanced alien technology can't predict." As the night wore on, they worked together quietly, setting traps and preparing the shelter for the possibility of an attack. Leo's hands moved with precision, adjusting sensors, strengthening the door, and configuring the communication terminal to send encrypted signals if needed. Arya assisted, her movements deliberate and efficient. She was resourceful, smart, and quick to adapt. Hours passed, and the storm outside showed no sign of slowing. Leo glanced at Arya, noticing the faint fatigue in her eyes despite her calm demeanor. He offered her another cup of tea and a small ration of food. She accepted it quietly, eating slowly, conserving her energy. "I've survived worse," she said, almost as if reading his thoughts. "But this storm? It's relentless." Leo nodded. "It's Zolaris. Nothing comes easy here. But humans, we find a way. We survive even when everything seems against us." Arya looked at him, a faint smile tugging at the corner of her lips. "I can see that. You humans. You have a stubborn streak, don't you?" "That's one way to put it," Leo said with a small laugh. "Stubborn, resourceful, and sometimes reckless. But it works." The wind outside continued to scream, rattling the walls of the shelter. Leo adjusted the sensors one final time and checked the perimeter. For now, they were safe, but he knew this peace wouldn't last long. The rogue faction was out there, waiting, and they would not stop easily. He turned to Arya. "Rest for a while. We'll need our strength for what comes next. Tomorrow, we move, and we stay ahead of them." Arya nodded, leaning back against the wall. Her eyes closed briefly, and for a moment, the tension in her body eased. Leo watched her for a moment, then focused on the map and the preparations. Humans had faced impossible odds before, and they had survived. Tonight would be no different, somewhere beyond the storm. The rogue faction moved, unaware that their target was safe for now. And Leo Harris, a human on a distant planet, would prove that ingenuity, courage, determination were more powerful than any advanced alien technology. The night stretched on, long and harsh, but inside the small shelter, a spark of hope burned. Two humans alone against a dangerous world, ready to survive together. And that, Leo thought, was something no one could underestimate. Morning broke on Zolaris with a pale, cold light, filtering through the gray clouds and casting long shadows across the barren terrain. The storm had passed, leaving the ground slick and muddy with puddles reflecting the faint glow of the rising sun. Leo Harris moved quietly around the shelter, checking the traps and sensors he had set the previous night. Each adjustment had to be a precise one. Mistake could alert the rogue faction that their target had survived the storm. Arya stirred from her rest, sitting up slowly. She looked more alert now, the warmth of the shelter and the dry clothes having restored some of her strength. Her eyes scanned the room, landing on Leo as he adjusted the perimeter sensors. "You didn't sleep much," she said softly. Leo shook his head. "Not until we know it's safe. It's hard to relax. We have to stay ahead of them." He glanced at the map spread across the table, tracing possible escape routes with his finger. "The drones they use are sophisticated, but they aren't perfect. If we move strategically, we can get you to the settlement without being detected." Arya nodded, listening intently. "Then we move at first light. The storm may have covered some of our tracks, but we can't count on that for long." They packed their minimal supplies, food rations, water, and some technical gear that Leo insisted might help if things went wrong. Arya carried a compact data device containing the information the rogue faction wanted, the reason they were being hunted. She handled it carefully, as if it were fragile, but there was determination in the way she carried herself. Leo admired that. Humans often underestimated their own courage. Yet here was proof that even one person could hold the balance of life and death in their hands. By mid-morning, the storm clouds had dissipated, revealing the strange, crystalline spires that rose from the ground like jagged towers. They provided both a challenge and an opportunity. Leo led Arya carefully through the mud, keeping to the shadows cast by the spires. Aware that any exposed movement could trigger the alien drones. "Why do you think they want this information so badly?" Leo asked as they moved. "There's a difference between wanting minerals and sending drones after someone personally." Arya glanced at him, her expression serious. "They want to control the colonies. The minerals are just a means to an end. With them, they can manufacture weapons that give them power over every settlement on this planet and possibly beyond. If they succeed, they'll crush any resistance." Leo's jaw tightened. Humans had faced oppressive forces before, yet somehow they always adapted. It's finding clever ways to turn disadvantages into victories. That same ingenuity would have to guide them now. Then we can't let them win. Not today. They continued moving, careful and deliberate, until they reached a narrow canyon where the spires formed natural cover. Leo paused, crouching low behind a rock formation. He raised a hand to signal Arya to stop. Ahead, faint movements caught his eye, shimmering outlines in the distance. The rogue drones were scanning the terrain, their sensors sweeping systematically. Leo whispered, "We'll wait for the drones to pass." Timing is everything. Arya crouched beside him, keeping silent. She had clearly done this before, moving with a stealth and patience that spoke of experience. After several tense minutes, the drones moved on, unaware of the two humans lying low in the shadows. "Now," Leo said. They moved quickly but cautiously, keeping to the cover of the spires. Every step was measured, every sound calculated to avoid detection. By midday, they had reached a narrow tunnel carved into the rock. It's an old natural passage that could provide temporary refuge. Inside, they paused to rest and reassess. Leo adjusted the small portable scanner he had brought, confirming that no drones were nearby. "We're safe here for a short while," he said. but we can't stay long. They'll be searching systematically. Arya opened her pack and retrieved the data device, checking its status. It's intact, she said, relief evident in her voice. They won't get it from me. Not today, Leo nodded. Good, we'll need it to plan our next move. And it proves something important. Humans may not have the strongest armor or fastest ships. But we survive because we think. We adapt. We improvise. Arya looked at him, a faint smile tugging at her lips. You really believe that, don't you? I do, Leo replied. It's in our nature. Even when the odds are against us, even when it seems impossible, we find a way. The tunnel led them through winding paths, each turn carefully chosen to maximize cover and minimize the risk of detection. Along the way, Leo demonstrated human ingenuity in small, clever ways, using reflective surfaces to misdirect drone sensors, creating small diversions with sound emitters, and improvising energy shields from materials scavenged from the landscape. Arya assisted at every step, her quick thinking complementing Leo's experience. Hours passed, and as night approached, they emerged from the tunnel near a ridge overlooking the settlement. From this vantage point, they could see the lights of human habitation flickering in the distance. Leo scanned the area, noting the locations of patrols and observation posts. We're almost there, he said quietly. But the final stretch will be the hardest. The drones patrolled this area constantly. Arya tightened her grip on the data device. Then we move smart, not fast. Every step counts. They descended carefully, using shadows and natural cover to remain unseen. Leo deployed small signal jammers along the way, creating temporary blind spots in the drone network. Each move required patience, precision, and coordination. Arya followed his lead, her confidence growing as they advanced. Finally, they reached the perimeter of the settlement. It was heavily fortified, but Leo had studied its layout in advance. He guided Arya to a less guarded entrance, a maintenance hatch often overlooked by patrols. Together, they slipped inside unnoticed. The settlement was alive with human activity workers, engineers and guards moving through the streets. Unaware of the danger that had pursued Arya across the planet, inside, they paused for a moment, taking in the sight. Humans had built something remarkable here, a thriving community on a harsh, unforgiving planet. And yet, despite the odds, they had not only survived, they had thrived. Leo felt a surge of pride. This was what he had been fighting for, not just for survival, but for the proof that humans could achieve greatness anywhere. Arya turned to him, gratitude evident in her expression. Thank you, Leo. I wouldn't have made it without you. Leo shook his head. No, you made it yourself. Humans survive because of courage and ingenuity. I just helped guide the way. They delivered the data device to the settlement's council, ensuring it was secure. The information would be used to protect the colony and prevent the rogue faction from gaining power. The council members expressed their deep gratitude, recognizing both Arya's bravery and Leo's cleverness, as they stepped outside into the cool night air. Leo looked at the stars above. Zolaris stretched endlessly, a reminder of the vastness of space and the challenges that lay ahead. Yet he felt confident. Humans, he thought, could meet any challenge, adapt to any environment, and overcome threats far greater than themselves. They might not have alien technology or superior firepower, but they had something just as powerful: creativity, courage, and the will to survive. Arya looked at Leo, her expression thoughtful. You really believe humans can face anything? I know it, he replied firmly. We survive because we think, because we care, because we refuse to give up. That's why we'll always have a place in the galaxy, no matter the odds. The settlement lights twinkled in the distance, a beacon of hope in the dark landscape. Leo and Arya stood together, two humans who had faced a storm, pursued by danger, and emerged victorious. And in that moment, the essence of humanity shone brightest, not in strength, not in weapons, but in courage, intelligence, in the ability to endure and adapt. The rogue faction would not stop, and the galaxy would continue to challenge humanity in ways both dangerous and unpredictable. But Leo and Arya had proven a simple truth. No matter how advanced or powerful the adversary, humans would find a way. They always did. And as the wind whispered across the plains of Zalaris, it carried with it a message that no alien could ignore. Humans survive. Humans adapt. And humans endure no matter the odds. For Leo Harris, Arya Voss, and all of humanity, the galaxy was not a threat to fear, it was a place to conquer, explore, and thrive. And that was only the beginning.